My name is Sylvie Tieszen, and my home parish is Our Lady of Good Hope. I've been in the Fort Wayne area for almost 4 years. Well, I actually turned it on for the first time maybe 3 years ago. And I remember I was listening to Teresa Tomeo talk about how the Archangel prayer is Michael the Archangel prayer is so important and so powerful. And it was before we all started praying it at the end of Mass. And then I didn't listen to it again for years. And then my spiritual director, she just mentioned, do you listen to Redeemer Radio? And I said, no, I don't. And a few weeks later, I just started listening to it, and now I listen to it all the time. I think it's helped a lot with the study aspect of my Catholic faith and, exposing me to topics that I'll then deep dive later, when I'm not in the car. I just love listening to the programs, just getting information or prayer, or I especially love information on the saints. Most recently, I was driving home from picking up groceries at Kroger, and I was just on my way home from Kroger to my home, which is maybe an 8-minute drive. And it was, and I wouldn't have known this otherwise, it was the feast day of St. Elizabeth of the Trinity. And she has such a beautiful prayer. And I have a friend who I've been praying a lot for. Her father passed away. And a year after that, her husband was diagnosed with stage 3 pancreatic cancer, and he's only in his mid-40s. And while they were at Johns Hopkins, getting a second opinion, their home burned down. And thankfully, her children and her mother-in-law and the dog were able to get out of the home before it burned down. But she is under a lot of, she's so faithful. She's not Catholic, but she's extremely faithful to the Lord. And so I heard the St. Elizabeth prayer, and it was just, the theme was calm and peace. And so I found it and I sent it to her. And then I started searching on the internet about St. Elizabeth, and it turns out that the miracle that led to her beatification was that she cured her. He was a cardinal, but he was the Bishop of Dijon, France, where she was from, and by her intercession, he was cured of cancer. And my friend's husband had cancer, so then I dropped everything and I prayed for the intercession of St. Elizabeth of the Trinity for Kevin. And that's all from a drive, from an 8-minute drive listening to Redeemer Radio. Caused all that to happen. You never know what's going to be on, yeah. This area and everybody, I think it just, I think a lot of us grew up, we went through the motions of catechesis, but then it was, checking boxes, and maybe for many years we were even away from the church. I certainly was. And and I was never exposed to any of this. And it just depends on whether, I grew up in a home that was Catholic, but not necessarily practicing all the time. And I'm raising my kids different. And it just gives me so much stuff to talk about, to ponder on, to pass on to my kids, and, things to talk about. And I hear it on the radio all the time. It's like, it's catechesis for us all. So I think a lot of us either forget, and how else do you, unless you're, I don't want to say it's a passive way of doing it, but I'm passively just listening while I'm also driving. And it's, when you don't have time at home necessarily to sit down, and where do you even begin? You just get this stuff fed to you, and it's just wonderful. It's easy. And all you have to do is turn it on and drive around or listen at home.